My name is Jennifer Yeo, as Kathy said, and I have had quite a path to where I am today at the Center for Arts and Technology as the Interior Design Department Head. I have been practicing, as it says, for 30 years, and I began my journey in interior design with my education at the University of Manitoba in the Faculty of Architecture and the Department of Interior Design. I graduated with a bachelor degree in interior design, and from there I've had quite a varied work experience, sometimes a little bit unusual, but it has led me through some very interesting experiences. And the first area that I worked in was the area of manufacturing. I was a designer for a high-end recreational vehicle company, and being an in-house designer allowed me to experience many different things in terms of the aspects of industrial design that are very important. I then went to work for two different governments as a project manager, and that allowed me to grow in many different ways in terms of overseeing projects of other architectural and design consultants. After that, I moved to the private sector and worked within an architectural firm as an interior designer, senior designer, and project manager. And from there, I moved on to my own private practice. And I have my own firm, and I still run that firm. And it led me to work within the education area and help other individuals pursue their pursuits in interior design. We're going to look at a few different things this morning, covering anything from the industry notes of what's happening with the interior design practice in Canada. We're also going to look at some career options and different types of responsibilities that interior designers have. And then we're going to talk specifically about some of the interior design aspects of the program at the Center for Arts and Technology here in Kelowna. And then we're going to discuss our Articulation Agreement and what that means. And you'll see some of the student successes, and along the way, of course, you have opportunities to have some question and answers. And you'll note that there are many images on the slides that are student projects, and it'll give you some of the idea of the breadth of the practice and the education of interior design. So, Kathy, we have a poll question right now.
Wonderful. Yes, everyone, we would love to know a little bit more about you guys. So our first poll question is the following. In selecting a post-secondary education, is it more important that the instructor have a formal education, be a working professional, or do you expect them to have both? So please let us know what you think. I'm going to be launching the poll question now. We'll allow you maybe about 30 seconds to provide us with your answers, and then I will share those with the audience. Great, so thanks for your speedy feedback, everyone. So both are equally as important. It seems like it is a unanimous decision. So with that, back over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kathy. There we go. So there sometimes is some confusion between what the difference between an interior designer and an interior decorator. And we've identified a few points here that may help you. The interior designer requires formal schooling. They have options to pass regulatory exams if they want to use the title registered or professional interior designer in front of their name. Interior designers work closely with specialists like engineers, architects, and other technical experts. They also work at integrating the entire interior environment, everywhere from space planning through all the different stages of the design process to the final finishes and furnishings. So there's quite a bit involved there. It isn't just the very pretty space that most of us see at the very end. And then interior designers are also versed in building codes, and they're responsible for the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Interior decorators, on the other hand, do not require any formal training or schooling. There is no regulatory board that oversees their practice in Canada, and they do not have any options to use the word registered or professional interior designer. Generally, interior decorator will focus on interior finishes and the color and selection and arrangements of fabrics and furnishings. So they're really working with the embellishment of the space. Generally, it's existing space, and they're using their expertise to work with the finishes and what you see in the final product. But they're generally not involved with the projects that get you to that place. And the other piece to that is, in most cases, interior decorators will practice in the residential field and not in the commercial field, and more that will become quite restrictive for them to practice in the commercial field. So we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. The interior designer's role, I've identified some traditional roles of responsibilities with projects, and we'll just quickly go through them. The first one is, of course, to analyze the client's needs and goals. And it's always important, that is the very first piece of the project, this is the project or information gathering and research stage. Then they will develop design concepts that work within the functional requirements of the project, and of course dealing with the aesthetic and appropriate sort of options when they come up with their design. The next section is to actually prepare the working drawings and specifications so that projects can actually come to fruition, so to be prepared. So the types of drawings we're dealing with are things like a reflected ceiling plan, lighting design and plan, interior detailing, which would include door frame details, window details, or millwork details, cabinetry details, the materials and finishes that would be within a space, whether they're on the architectural finishes like the floor and the walls, or and the ceilings, or they could also include the furniture and equipment, the space planning aspects, furnishings and fixtures, so specifying all those types of items, sometimes also equipment. And they will also be considering universal accessibility guidelines and appropriate codes in every jurisdiction that they work in. So there's a fair amount that goes into the working drawing process. The next process is all the way through, they will collaborate during that working drawing section with other consultants. Some of them might be architects, mechanical, electrical, acoustical, and structural engineers, and any other specialists that's specific to that particular type of project. After that, you will be asked to prepare and sometimes administer bid documents and contract documents for the clients so that they can actually get pricing for their job. And sometimes you're asked to evaluate those bids with the clients to make recommendations. You would also often be involved in the site administration, so you could go through a construction project when it's under construction and oversee or be the client's representative on the site and talk with the contractor and other sub-trades. And then you may be involved at the very end of reviewing and evaluating some of the solutions during that implementation process in terms of construction, but then also on completion of the project. So Kathy, we have another poll question.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. So for poll question number 2, guys, we would love to know how important you think professional development is when choosing post-secondary education. So let us know if you think it's very important, not so important, or you really need a little bit more information about what professional development actually is. So I'll launch the poll question now. We'll allow you 30 seconds. Feel free to let us know your feedback, and then I will share the results. Great. Okay, so thank you so much for your feedback, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share the results now. So it seems like we had some divided answers here, Jennifer. A couple people, knew right away, very important, whereas others are looking for a little bit more feedback on what professional development is. So I'll toss it back to you to discuss that a little bit further.
Thanks, Kathy. Professional development, we'll discuss items like during the time that you're actually working, we will take continuing education. So one of the things that happens with that is designers, instructors through an education process may become part of that, bring their students in as part of that process. So ongoing education means that we will have opportunities for students to take part in development, other outside educational pieces that bring them in contact with other interior design professionals or specialists in associated fields. So it gives them a greater breadth of knowledge for students, but also it gives us opportunities for the instructors and designers themselves to keep on top of things. One of the aspects of this often happens within programs in items like practicum experience, where students actually get the opportunity of going into an office and working with other design professionals during their education. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kristen. I am a program advisor here at the Center for Arts and Technology, and I just want to just elaborate a little bit on what Jennifer had said about the professional development. It's actually also part of the core curriculum within the Interior Design Diploma program, or actually any program offered here at the center, that covers all of the necessary skills needed to lessen the shock of finishing school and making your way into the real world or the working world. So we take you through resume, cover letter writing, networking skills. We have industry night where we actually bring a panel of professionals into the campus to see our students work. We look at necessary soft skills that employers look for. So we build up your teamwork abilities, time management, all those really important skills that are needed to make you a strong employee when you're out. Then we also do have basic career management classes as well, and then as Jen had mentioned, the practicum is a huge portion of this this program that really helps students get an idea of what they want to go and what they want to do and what direction they want to go when they are done their diploma.
Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
So, the interior design industry in Canada, when we're looking at that, there's some information that's readily available regarding some industry trends. And one of the things that some of the information is telling us is that the number of working designers has increased over the last few years. This is really due to many different things. One of the things, of course, is the wonderful HGTV, which allows us to have a lot more contact with people and gets the public generally has a better idea of what interior designers may do. So in general, that's part of the growth in the profession, and is relatively young in terms of working professions. So it takes time for people to know really what types of skills interior designers have and what types of things that they can offer their clients. There's also an increased demand for qualified interior designers, and this has a lot to do, again, with education, but also the increased demand in the corporate world for looking for designers who specialize in certain types of areas. So the key with that is there are changes in the Canadian industry which is going to demand that designers have qualifications in order for them to find employment. So one of the other things that Stats Canada says is 39% of interior designers are self-employed, and one of these aspects, this is one of the items that typically will be of interest to many people when they go into this field, because they have the opportunities at generally relatively low-cost startup to become a self-employed person. So there's many different types of opportunities in the workforce, and of course this is one of them. The next slide is showing us some industry trends in terms of the types of areas of employment in interior design. And so we're looking at a pie chart that's showing us that 51% of the people working in interior design are working in design services. Some are in retail, some work within the construction industry, and of course we have 8% working in the manufacturing sector. Or sorry, 8% is working within the construction industry and 7% is working within the manufacturing center. And when we look at that, how that breaks down, the next slide is talking to us more about some of the areas of practice in more detail. So for instance, residential design, which most of us can relate to, will include private residences and multifamily residences, multifamily dwellings. Then you will move really into what's called the commercial or corporate world. Commercial offices or corporate offices are relatively easy to understand as well, but then we will work into areas of retail and hospitality. That would include things like stores, kiosks, restaurants, hotels, any type of entertainment sort of type facilities. Then there are recreational facilities like community halls, other types of facilities like that, sometimes aquatic centers. Then you move into public or institutional areas like hospitals, religious buildings, art galleries, museums, libraries, and things like that. Another area of design is the design and transportation. That could be in the areas of RV design, yacht design, airplanes, trains, things like that. You may get into manufacturing of furniture design and more specifics, and then other types of fields like stage set design, project management, and there's many other fields that actually are sort of offshoots of this particular type of program or type of practice. What we'll find is you can practice all of them and be a generalist, like in many other fields, but really what's happening as technology and materials get more very specific, certain areas start to become specializations, and so people tend to specialize in areas like hospital or healthcare design and very specific areas like that, and sometimes in transportation as well. So you will find you may have a variety of experience when you get to practice, and that's one of the interesting things about being an interior designer, is that you have lots of options, and sometimes the particular jobs you work on aren't the same every day. So it gives you some really dynamic and challenging things for your career and options to change, and everything isn't static. So that becomes very interesting in the career. But again, as you start becoming very specialized or knowledgeable in certain areas, these areas can become a specialization. So the other thing is that it's really important to recognize that there is some economic factors that will affect the design industry. And as interior design is a service industry, sometimes in some areas that's considered a luxury, and sometimes that can affect the market as it does in other types of fields. But primarily you'll see that more happening in residential design than you will see it in commercial design, although it does affect the amount of money that you will have to work with in commercial work. Also, the competition you might have from other individuals in residential design, that will mainly come from interior decorators or other people, but in commercial design, it would probably be architects would be your main competition if it wasn't another interior designer. It really isn't an area that other people can work in without some expertise. So, job opportunities are mainly as a result of designers that are retiring or leaving the workforce, or people who have been promoted through to other areas. This is what Stats Canada is telling us. But there's also, as I said, a growth in the industry. As the industry has become more specialized and more knowledgeable and more understood in the marketplace, more and more people are asking for interior designers to become part of their projects. And this allows lots of opportunities for new placement and new jobs. One of the interesting things that we've recognized here at the Center for Arts and Technology is that we have had our students are, in general, all receiving work after they graduate, and that's a very positive thing for us to be working with. So the next slide is very interesting because it addresses the question of, do you need to go to school, or do you need to have some sort of specialized education in the interior design industry? And during Stats Canada on their website will say that you do not need to officially have schooling to become an interior designer, but it becomes increasingly important to set you apart from other job applicants. But the reality of this is, the problem is this isn't actually reflecting the current situation in the marketplace. So what's happening right now is, again, this really directs or speaks to residential designers, but when we look at commercial design, there isn't really opportunity for people who do not have education because the knowledge base is so specific. So you will notice that there is, on the chart, we're looking at an increase in percentage of people that actually require some sort of education, and we're looking at post-secondary diplomas. The increase has increased significantly from 1991 to 2006, and that is continuing today. There's many type of characteristics that would bring people to this type of career. And if you're considering a career in interior design, you might want to sort of think about whether these are aspects that would explain you or be part of your interest or skill set. So one of the areas is an industry standard design skills. Well, of course, that is a piece that you learn in secondary education. So it isn't something that you have to have before you come to school. But one of the things that you would want to consider is it's really important for you to have good listening skills and really good communication skills, because communication, both verbal and visual, is really an important piece of what we do, and it's important for your clients in order to connect with you and you to understand exactly what it is that they need, that you are able to listen and interpret what it is that they are telling you. You need to have some sense of visual aesthetic. And again, part of this is taught certainly within the school programming. You will look at theory and talk about what is aesthetically pleasing, but it is something that is very helpful in your choice. You may have an interest in having things that are visually pleasing, so that is something that would be an important aspect. You should have some type of imagination, or at least be open to learning new things, and that is really important because it allows you to get into the idea of concept design. And then visualizing things in 3 dimensions, meaning that you can actually visualize what something might look like as you're imagining it in a space, not just flat on a piece of paper. Attention to detail is extremely important. It means that we have to be very, very specific, and you have to care about all the little things. You need to look at the big picture when you're doing design, but you also have to be able to get into the details and be interested in working out all the little details so that in fact your design is created the way you intended. And then any type of management, negotiating, team skills, team building is always important. We work in teams, whether you work within an office with other people or whether you work within the team, the construction team or part of the client team. You're always working with others, which is what's a great piece of what we do, but it is really an important aspect to be aware of. So Kathy, we have another poll question.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. So to our listeners, we'd love to know how informed you feel with regards to career opportunities in interior design. So let us know if that's very informed, semi-informed, or you just really don't know yet. You feel a little bit clueless. So we're looking for your responses, and I will launch the poll question now, allow you a few seconds, and then be back to share the results. All right, great, guys. We had some speedy responses on this one, so thanks so much for that. I will share the results now. So again, we are a little bit divided on this one, Jennifer. Some of our audience feel very informed, whereas others not so much. They feel a little bit clueless. So thanks for your feedback, guys, and I'm just going to toss it over to Jennifer now.
We're going to touch on the actual interior design diploma program at the Center for Arts and Technology right now, and I'd like to give you a brief outline of what it's all about. This program we have here is a 24-month continuous program. It's run not on the semester system, it's run quarterly, so it means there's 8 quarters. So it's actually equivalent to a 3-year program if you were on a semester system, which is typically what you would have at a university. You will graduate after you finish your 4 months at the Center for Arts and Technology. You would graduate with a diploma of interior design, and this diploma will allow you to go into the workforce as you are right now, but there are some opportunities also to continue on to further education if you would choose that you decide that interior design is really for you and you love it and you want to work in possibly higher levels of the industry. You may choose to continue your education onto a bachelor degree program. And you can do that by transferring credits to other institutions that do have bachelor programs. At the present time, the Center for Arts and Technology has a formal articulation agreement with RCC, and we're going to talk to you about that in the next slide. But this gives you an opportunity to actually transfer your credits over so that your education that you've done is counted, and you can build on it from there. So there's many different topics that we cover at the Center for Arts and Technology during this time period. We cover everything through the different areas of history of architecture and interior design and furniture. We will explore many different drafting type areas, from manual drafting through AutoCAD and Revit programs, so that you are well versed in drafting, which is a tool necessary in order to build interiors. And we will also be looking at different types of rendering skills and sketching skills, so we're developing that aspect of your abilities as well. We will explore 3D modeling, and as you've seen through many of the slides as well as this one, these interior spaces are done in computer-generated 3D models, so that we're able to actually, your clients are able to experience the space in terms of how you've designed it. You will study lighting design, building systems and building design. You will study materials and become quite knowledgeable on the different types of materials and textiles that are required and the knowledge base with that. You will understand construction methods both in residential and commercial interior design. You will study all the way through sustainable design and green design systems and how we work with that, because that is fundamentally a part of the industry. And then you will also be looking at the business of interior design as well. So we look at that because that's a very important part of our practice, and it's important to understand how you work within the fields. So all of these topics are dealt with both in individual courses and then all the way through in every quarter. We also have interior design studios in which you will generate projects. You will be given a client profile and you will have to generate a project or a solution to the problems in the project, like the one we have here, and that's how you learn the process of design. In Canada, there is we have a process in terms of becoming an interior designer. It's a three-part process. The first part is education, the next is experience, and the last is examination. So the education piece is the piece that you have in secondary education. As when you're coming here, you'll have a diploma in interior design, or you may pursue a degree in interior design. And the key to that is you must have at least 90 interior design credits in order to move on to the next piece. Then you will have to put in some time in experience. So that's your work experience process, and that's a 2 to 3 year process depending on the number of credits you have in your secondary education. And that's working within the interior design industry, and you log that time. And then finally, there's an examination portion, which is called the NCIDQ, and that is a 3-part exam that once you've completed your education and your logged experience, then you can take your exam, and at that point then you will have a certification called NCIDQ Certified, and you have that extra piece of certification, which allows you then to move on to professional and registered status within Canada. As I mentioned before, we have a formal articulation agreement at the Center for Arts and Technology between ourselves and the RCC Institute of Technology in Ontario. And this allows a direct transfer of credits from the DID, which is the Diploma in Interior Design program, to a BID, which is the Bachelor of Interior Design. So up to 72 credits of the Center for Arts and Technology program are already pre-approved. So that's approximately 40% of your bachelor degree. And what that means is those credits are already, you do not have, they're already approved, so you do not have to ask for equivalency. But then you may look at additional credits will be accepted by RCC on an individual basis. So they'll look at your transcripts as well as your portfolio that shows that you in fact have been able to ascertain the credentials to that particular level, and those will probably be approved as well. So that can leave you to the bulk of your, the base part of your interior design bachelor degree program. So one of the interesting things that why we've chosen RCC for this formal agreement is it allows us to have our students may actually continue to go to school while they're working. So you can actually pursue your degree in interior design online, and that's quite an interesting prospect for many people as they may leave here and go all over Canada or elsewhere. Recognizing this is a formal agreement, we have it with this particular institute, but also note that there are opportunities for our students, and they have done this at other bachelor degree programs where they have then gone in on an individual basis and they have asked to have their credits approved. And that is a process that is ongoing for students that have graduated from here if that's what they choose to do. We have a few grad success stories that we're just going to let you take a look at, and while you're looking at that you'll be able to see some of the work that in fact they have done as well. Nada Almazeri is one of our recent grads, and she's really enjoyed her piece here, her time here, and these are some images from her final project, which was an international student residence. This is Mackenzie Headman. She is a graduated several quarters ago, a couple of years ago, and these are pieces from her final project. But she is actually practicing an interior designer at an architectural firm and really enjoying her career choice. These are further student projects. You can see we study everything through millwork and construction drawings, planning, interior rendering, furniture and materials. Would anyone like to have any, does anyone have any questions that might be either directed to our advisor or myself at this time?
Actually, Jennifer, we do have one question that has come in over the course of the presentation from a listener in Ottawa. She's actually curious as to whether or not an interior decorator would have the same number of options as an interior designer in terms of workplaces.
No, they wouldn't. An interior decorator would have opportunities in the residential field, in some residential offices, as well as they have opportunities more in retail outlets and stores. There's opportunities with aspects of staging, possibly doing staging in residential spaces, as well as sometimes there's opportunities with representing product, so you could become an architectural or design rep from a particular product, like a particular carpet company, and then you would deal with sort of show or be a specification expert for interior designers, so you would show them those types of products. But typically a commercial office would not hire an interior decorator at this point in time, and that's going to become very restricted in the next few years as well.
Okay, and she actually thanked you for your response, Jennifer, and has a follow-up question, and is curious as to whether or not you guys use AutoCAD, SketchUp, 2020 Technologies, or Revit.
We use AutoCAD, SketchUp, and Revit, and we also use InDesign and some other types of programs.
Perfect. Thank you. And so just to jump on to a new question, another question, and this particular listener thanked you once more, Jennifer, so thanks for the feedback. A second question is regarding the self-employment rate. So one of our listeners just noted the 39% self-employment rate, and just wanted you to speak into that a little bit more, maybe the benefits of working, you know, as your own boss as opposed to working for an overhead corporation. If you could just sort of talk a little bit more about that, that'd be great.
Okay, so one of the aspects of the practice, if you choose to stay quite small, you can work as a consultant. So as a consultant in that particular scenario, it works well as a self-based or home-based business or self-employed person. The key information is the type of practice you're going to practice, though. So as interior design becomes very specialized, in some of the areas it's usually beneficial to work within the field with other interior design practitioners first before you go out as a self-employed person. And as you can see, the concept of education, experience, and examination, you do need to have the opportunities of at least working with an advisor in the experience piece that's someone who is actually a registered interior designer, so that they can help you and help you through the process, because there's many things that come up in the practice. But as I have been a self-employed person, it's quite beneficial in many ways, because depending where you live, sometimes you live in areas where there aren't other large firms, or you might be in rural areas where private practice works very well, or you also may be in a situation with a family that you don't necessarily want to work regular hours or full-time hours. So there is some benefits to, of course, this type of industry, because it allows you to do that.
Great. Thanks for expanding on that a little bit. Another question that's come in is how much does an interior designer ask per hour of work compared to an interior decorator?
Well, to be honest, it depends where you are in Canada. That varies greatly, and it will even vary greatly within region. It will vary depending upon the amount of experience you have, the type of projects you do, and whether you're within a firm or not. So the hourly rates of fees are set by firms depending upon their overhead. You know, there's many different ways to look at that question, so that's a really hard question to answer. Some interior decorators, you know, won't be able to generate large fees, but others will generate a fair amount of fee, especially if they're selling products as well. So it's quite varied. I'm sorry, I don't really have an exact figure that I can do in comparison.
Not to worry. Thanks for speaking into it a little further, though. So the next question is actually a two-part question. And so the first question is, how many students does the Center for Arts accept into this particular program? And as a follow-up, I know we've spoken about, you know, the benefits of pursuing further education, but with regards to architecture, have you found that, you know, it's benefited any graduates to pursue, you know, an architectural degree after they've completed their interior design studies? So two parts to the question.
So the first question, sure. Hi, it's Kristen again. I'll answer the first part of the question in terms of the class sizes here. Of course, being a small school, we do pride ourselves on our small and intimate class sizes. So, for example, the interior design class we just started this last October was 7. And I think the largest class we ever started was 9 or 10 students. So we do keep them very small and very intimate because we want to ensure the students receive high quality education, lots of one-on-one time with their mentors and their instructors, and we're not just, you know, stuffing a lecture theater full of 200 students. So.
So, and due to the, and I just want to expand on that, because we are a small school, but also because we are a condensed program, it's very beneficial to keep the classes smaller for both the instructors and the students, so the students have more one-on-one time with the instructor. The other piece is the question as to whether it would be beneficial to continue on to architectural studies after you had an interior design, either diploma or degree. And, you know, of course, any type of education, if that's something you're interested in, is beneficial. So if you want to work within the architectural industry and you want to become an architect, having training in interior design is always a benefit because it's a different type of focus. It's more designed from the inside out, more human-based, scale-based, as opposed to larger visional-based. So it also depends upon where you want to practice. So sometimes architecture leads to interior design, and sometimes interior design leads to architecture, and it really is a very personal choice and decision. You might find that you're really interested in architecture after you've started interior design, and for those types of people, it would be a very a close fit, a good fit to move on to an architectural degree after that.
Great, thanks Jennifer. And I have one final question here, and again I'll invite any additional questions should you have any more before we conclude the presentation. But the final question actually pertains to specializations. So you mentioned that there are a variety of different ways that an interior designer can go in terms of you know, what area they specialize in, be it a restaurant, a hospital, otherwise. But is it, once they've developed their portfolio a little bit, is it easy for them just to sort of hop across a specialization should they decide to do something new or different? Or do they tend to find that, okay, once they've worked for a while in a hospital or in a restaurant or, you know, in a specific corporation, that's sort of the route they take and sort of have to follow through with?
You know, because the practice is so varied and the educational base is very generalized, it isn't really difficult to switch, especially if you've been specialized in one area and you want to move to another. That typically isn't that difficult. It just means that you have to pursue certain types of avenues in order to do it. So for instance, if areas like hospitality, for instance, can be quite specialized, but the very specialized areas, of course, are in healthcare. And so if you have been practicing in healthcare already and you want to move to another area, perhaps you want to go into design that is maybe a more sort of creative-based, then you may want to you could probably relatively easily do that. It's more difficult to go the other way. So some of the ways that you might do it in either move from one specialization to another or a generalization to a specialization is that you would often then try to partner with or work for companies that do those types of specialized projects. And as you work for those types of projects, then or those types of companies, then you will gain that area of expertise. So typically, students or new employers, or sorry, people looking for work would pursue the types of employers that would have that type of specialization.
All right. right. Thank you so much for your feedback. So it looks like that now brings us to the end of the question and answer period. So I would just like to say thank you so much to you, Jennifer, and to you, Kristen, for your input on CAT's interior design program. And thank you to all of you who have joined us today. Hope it was informative for you and that you had your questions answered. Should you have any additional ones, feel free to connect with the Center for Arts and Technology through a variety of the means available on the screen, and they would be happy to address your inquiries. They would also be happy to forward these slides along for your reference. So thanks so much, ladies, and I hope everyone has a good day today.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and
Thank you.
thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.